Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is the 10th Springboard at Home. Thank you very much for being here. We have another great session in store for you today, as always. For me, life felt normal for a couple of days. I got on a plane. I got to go visit Chicago, spent some time with the Fishmans, which was really nice. And two things that I came back with were one, habit of actually wearing a mask because the Fishmans did a great job at taking my temperature and making me wear the mask. And the second thing is a reinforcement that I talked very loud because I went out and I was pacing in the hallway, actually talking with Jake Fishman. And I think I got reported by the neighbors, but it was really good to get on a plane and get out, get some traveling done, see some franchise family. Today we have a couple of esteemed guests. I'll introduce them here in a second. They're in our Zoom room. We also have a celebrity guest host with us today. We have Mr. Justin Mink. He's the Senior Vice President of Franchise Growth now. So congratulations, Justin, on that. But he's with Scorpion. I think everybody here knows who Scorpion is. What I'd like to do really quick, first of all, Justin, say hello, since you're a celebrity guest host. And then also, is Jude the Dude going to make an appearance today or what?
I'm actually looking at my son who just turned 1, Jude the Dude, out on his little backyard swing with mom right now. So he's occupied, otherwise occupied. His priorities are straight, but it's great to be here. Thanks for allowing me to be part of this. Should be fun.
Yeah, so we'll kick it over to Brad and Lane. Couple of remarks, top of the house here before we bring in Susan and Adam, which I will formally introduce here in a second. Brad, any remarks off the top of the house here?
Well, I hope everyone saw Lane's new video that just came out. It's fun to do with, we're Springboard, and it was exciting about putting the video out and seeing what was going on in the past and some of our events. And we're still crossing our fingers that we still might get it done in September, but a lot of it is going to depend on our wonderful city of Philadelphia, who has not opened their restaurants yet. So it's been a little interesting. It was, like I said, it was great to have Ryan here last weekend. And we're looking forward to a wonderful 4th of July, and I hope everyone else. We'd love to thank Adam and Susan as before they start their big weekend to join us today. And our special guest, Justin, I had to make fun of his hair a little bit, but he told me his wife is asking him to grow it out a little bit. Because I know in Texas, the barbers have been open for months now.
Yeah, I have no excuse.
All right, Brad, that was, that's not the only embarrassing video out. I thought you were referring to one that went later than that. Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. I want to go quick because I don't want to take away from our esteemed guests. For folks keeping tabs on our switchboard opportunity, we have had a very active 2 weeks. There's over 100 resumes and new job postings being posted every day. We encourage folks to post on there and to see what is posted on there. Just on the topic of Independence Day, I think back to all the way we exercise our independence in this country, from freedom of speech to freedom of action, now freedom to work independently at home. Society's become a much more local place. This COVID has reined people in, reassembled families, made it more like the past, but yet in reality probably has propelled us 10 years into the future. All this independence reminds me of how much I miss people. Maybe that's just me. I've lived more independently than I ever have personally, but reminded constantly how dependent businesses are on customers, employees, and one another to survive. While I don't know anybody who can identify all the winners and losers, it's still fortunately very easy to identify folks who are adapting, pivoting, and to making the most out of these opportunities and challenges. I'm very grateful for our guests today, and very much appreciate Susan and Adam joining us. So with that, I will turn it over to Ryan. Ryan, thanks.
Yeah, so by way of formal introduction, I think most folks in the audience will probably know who these folks are, but we have Susan Boresow. She's the president of Title Boxing. We had the opportunity to end our summer tour inside of her office, and she was gracious to host us, and that was a good time, Susan. So thank you for being here. And then we also have Adam Zeitsiff. He's the president and CEO of Gold's Gym. These are two iconic brands. So it's a pleasure to have you on, and welcome to Springboard at Home, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, our pleasure. So let's just start. I gave a quick thumbnail of your titles, but would like to let the audience have some context into your track records and leadership and your journeys in franchising. So give us a quick thumbnail on your franchise journey thus far and tell us a little bit about where you come from. And we'll start with you, Susan.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. And hey, thanks for hosting this. I got to tell you, the last several months, this has been really valuable to see colleagues and leaders share their best practices. It's helped me a great deal. So glad to be here. Yeah, I've been in franchising 35 years. My entire career has been in franchising. I spent about 17 years with McDonald's throughout the country, went on to Godfather's Pizza as vice president of marketing, went to Sport Clips, haircut for men and boys down in Texas, and a few other brands. And then prior to joining Tidal over 5 years ago as president, I was a chief marketing officer for Massage Envy in Arizona. So love the health and wellness industry. And again, been with Tidal about 5 years.
Beautiful. What say you, Adam?
Hey guys, good to be here. This is definitely, I've had the most fun in the last 10, 15 minutes just getting ready for this with you guys. And I've done a lot of webinars the last 90 days, I must say. This has been the most fun. I won't tell the audience what we're talking about beforehand. It was enjoyable. I very much appreciate it. But yeah, so I've been mainly, I started out the first 10 years of my career really as an entrepreneur. After school, I got my first job in marketing and technology, and then 6 months later started my first company myself, a business partner and a dog. And that was the start of it. We were in the conferencing and video conferencing technology space and audio visual space, and spent about 9 years there in that business and doing some great things around this country, and really learned what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to sweep the floor 1 minute, pick up the phone the next, and sell something and be a technician and do all those things all at the same time. And you wear a lot of hats when you run a business, as many franchisees know in their respective industries. So, and then really moved into fitness in 2005 on the technology side first for the first 10 and a half years or so, in technology businesses and software and billing and really the infrastructure and ERP tools that support fitness businesses, whether it's the franchisor, franchisee, or independent operator. And then really didn't ever work for a franchisor until I started at Gold's Gym in 2016 as the CIO, helping with a digital transformation and to drive the business forward from a digital perspective. And now I've been in the CEO role since February of 2019. And just I love being here. And we're headquartered here, of course, and right down the street from you, Ryan, here in Dallas.
Yeah, in a almost rainy Dallas, but now we've got some sunshine coming through. But I alluded to this before. Both of you guys have really kind of iconic brand names, especially within your relative industry and industries, as there is differentiation between the two of you. But share a little bit about Tidal and Gold's and what brought each of you to that organization, what drives the passion, and maybe just a little bit of flavor on exactly what the experience is, so that audience has context as we jump in. Susan, we'll start with you.
Great, thanks. Yes, at Tidal, we have about 183 units, primarily in the U.S. We also have clubs in Mexico and in the Dominican. We're a full body workout. It's trainer led in a group setting, and we focus primarily on boxing and kickboxing techniques. We have about 70% of our members are female, so that very empowering group continues to grow. And then we're a membership-based model, so that's real important in the recurring revenue side of the business. You'll hear the words community and family quite a bit with Tidal. It's just entrenched in our DNA. A lot of relationship-oriented, with this business, with franchisees, trainers, and members. And obviously I got into Tidal 5 years ago, love the health and fitness industry, always have, personally and professionally. I was at the IFA a little over 5 years ago, and I was attending a session, and John Rocci, who at that time was the president, is now the CEO of Franworth, was doing a breakout session. And I'd heard of John, had met him afterwards, sent him a LinkedIn and said, hey, thinking about making some changes. If you ever want to talk, I love Tidal. I've done the classes in Kansas City, let me know. And he had connected with me about a week later, and our dialogues progressed, and my majority of my background is in marketing. And so he was looking actually for somebody to obviously lead the organization in Overland Park, Kansas, where I'm originally from. So offered me the job of president. I love the brand. I love what it stands for and the impact that this brand makes on people's lives and achieving the results that they come into the clubs for. Love helping franchisees achieve their dreams too. It's rewarding to see franchisees grow, become multiples, become successful with one club, and have trainers and members become franchisees is also very exciting. So being in it for 35 years, it's franchising, and I've loved every aspect of it. And I love staying fit too. So I personally love working out every day, and I've gotten pretty good with those jab crosses. So work on that every day.
Yeah, I remember on our tour, you have really good form as we took our little photo op and you gave me some lessons. But Adam, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, the background, Gold's Gym. I mean, we love to think we're the most famous gym chain in the world. We started in 1965. Joe Gold with his first gym in Venice, California. And it's interesting. What was then is still today. Joe was all about innovation, expertise, community, and results, right? He was innovative. He made most of his own equipment. He repaired most of his own equipment right in the gym. He brought expertise. He only brought the best trainers in to help work with his, at the time it was a big bodybuilding community. And then of course, community. He was all about community. It was all about the people that worked out in the gym and how they helped each other out, how they grew. And then of course, results. Some of the world's most famous bodybuilders in the 60s and 70s worked out with Joe and his team. And really that's what kind of Gold's Gym is all about today. We still innovate, best expertise, best community, the best results. And, it's an interesting journey. We started with one gym in 65. In 77, people really got to know us because of the Pumping Iron from Arnold Schwarzenegger. The movie really put us on the map in that bio about him. And so we really accelerated our growth in this country in early days and in kind of very early days in kind of a licensing format, and then very quickly moved into franchising. Franchising's been at the heart of our DNA since the early 80s. In 85, we opened our first gym in Canada. 87, a little derivation of this logo here on my shirt was born. We started selling t-shirts around the world, huge phenomenon with us. And then really in 96, we moved into Europe and Asia, again, through franchising. We had about a couple million members in 2000 and kind of really been growing the business ever since then. We are in 28 countries, actually 29. We just signed South Africa this week, so we're very proud about that. 29 countries, over 650 gyms, and growing. As a company, we own 62 of them, so the rest are franchising. It's part of our DNA, it's part of what we do, and we are very excited. And obviously, fitness for all of us is a tough time right now, but we're so excited about the future. And this brand is really resonating, and it's never been more popular as over the last couple of years as it has been. So we're excited about it.
So what does each of you gave us both a little bit of a footprint. What does the footprint look like in terms of locations open today or reopened, I guess I should say, and what are you seeing on the ground as it relates to consumers ready and consumers willing to come back in? Susan?
Yeah, we, as of next week, right after the 4th, we'll have almost 70% of our clubs that have reopened. Just got word today that Boston can reopen Monday. So we've kind of been waiting for that one. We've got some of our other major markets still obviously waiting, parts of California, Washington, New York, New Jersey, and Chicago just reopened as well. We've seen, it's been pretty consistent what we've seen since we started to reopen. We've seen really 3 types of consumers out there. The first is really our loyalists, our brand ambassadors. These are the members that have been waiting at the door since we've closed. They are in the clubs. They are excited to be back. They appreciate the standards that we have, cleanliness and social distancing, and they're coming in multiple times a week. And obviously they're getting their workouts and like to be back in the routine. The second group are the consumers and members that we're seeing that, hey, they want to come back. They're just maybe not ready this week, maybe next week, maybe in a month. They're still kind of waiting to see what happens, but more than likely that they will come back. They just maybe need a little bit more time. They're doing some of our virtual training, Title on Demand in between that. And then the third group that we're seeing, they're just maybe not ready at all to come back. Maybe there's financial situations that have occurred in their lives, or that, hey, they're just wanting to wait several months, and the fear of what's happening with COVID is out there. And each one of those buckets has just different percentages, really based on where the club is and the market is and the impact that COVID has. So overall, I can tell you though that the clubs that have reopened, I mean, it's kind of like having January in June. I mean, we are absolutely selling memberships. There is a group out there that wants to get back into fitness and the routine. So that's been real positive. So those are really the three types of, consumers that we've seen since we've reopened.
Adam, what are you guys seeing as reopening?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been 50 years, 55 years since at one point there was no Gold's Gyms open in the world. And that's at one point what happened. It's 29 countries now. And during this process, we had 0 Gold's Gyms open for the first time in 50 something years. And it was eerie. And, we've always talked about how we follow the sun, and we've grown so that there's always a gym open somewhere in this world. And so Mongolia, of all places, Mongolia was the first Gold's Gym to reopen. It does help that the president of Mongolia is a member, so that did help us get open a little quicker. But don't tell anyone that. But they were the first ones to reopen, and to their credit, they did an amazing job. Standards, the government approved their standards, independent bodies. They did a wonderful job, and they're doing a great job now. But so fast forward to now, we're probably close to 90% open in the U.S. In terms of both franchisee and company owned. We're probably in the low 70% open outside the U.S. and the other U.S. and Canada, but the other 27 countries outside of those two, and they're getting there. And we're seeing very similar things. I mean, Susan hit the nail on the head. I've been to many openings. I toured 31 gyms in 3 days in Texas back in mid-May, and was there at 5 a.m. when we opened. I was in Venice 2 weeks ago at our Mecca at 4 a.m., which was a tough get up when they were opened. And there were people lined up. I mean, literally, 60, 70 people lined up at the door to get in. And to Susan's point, those are the loyalists. They were there, they were ready. And our traffic compared to year over year check-ins was first week or two everywhere we opened, because we opened in phases, was probably, 40%, so 60% down. And then it slowly built and to the point now, I would say, depending on where we are, we're between 55 and 60% of year over year traffic. And it was getting a little better every day. And then we've had some resurgence in cases, but it's still in the 50s, kind of some in that area. And we were wherever we were allowed to open, we opened on that first day. We had a plan. I'm sure, like Susan, after the first 2 weeks we closed in mid-March. We spent 2 weeks in denial, at least I know I did. We finally said, okay, this is actually going to be a while. So we worked on our reopening plan. We had it ready. So we were open the first day we were allowed to in each state, and have just been seeing a lot of people come and sign up. To Susan's point, a lot of people whose gym may be closed, unfortunately, or who just realized, I've been for 3 months now seeing doctors and scientists say how important exercise is to either preventing or fending this disease off. If I get it, I'm going to get off the couch and just do this for a change. So we've been getting a lot of those people. It's been great. It hasn't stopped the cancellations. I don't want to paint a rosy picture. We're losing more than we're gaining right now because of fear, to what Susan said, because they lost their jobs. We're a very affordable $30 to $40 a month gym, but still every dollar counts right now. So we're not netting positive right now, nor do we expect to. But in all honesty, we're way ahead of what we thought we'd be, which we're happy with. And so it's been positive, and I'll leave it at this. I know you want to talk about safety measures, but our employees, seeing the smile on their faces, seeing them back in their gym, seeing our franchisees with their team members who've been furloughed, that made it all worth it, all this entire time, because they're all just happy to be back.
Have you seen, this is a question for both of you. Have you seen a change where, I would probably, going to the gyms over the years, the majority of the working people are going either more before work or after work. With people working home, have you seen a change in their workout habits?
We have to some degree, and that's one of the enhancements that some of our franchisees have made. They've added classes, because sometimes the 5:30, 6:30 workout in the morning worked before pre-COVID, but we're seeing like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. classes being added, even ones in the afternoon. So they are coming and working out at different parts during the day versus what they normally have worked out before.
Yeah, same. I mean, we're seeing still the busy times, you know, early morning, lunchtime, afternoon, evening, just because people still have to work, and even if they're home, they get it over with earlier, they get it done after work. But we are seeing a little bit more steady flux in between now, since people have a little more time and they're not stuck in their office all day, during a little more number of check-ins during that kind of off period.
I'm really excited to learn more about what each of your brands are doing on the digital front, because I know even before COVID, you were well prepared for the digital age and have had some really robust platforms that were rocking and rolling before the crisis hit. But before we get into digital, I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you're doing to mitigate to take precautions to make your clients and your customers and your members, your team members, feel safe in the actual facility. And I know, Adam, we were on our prep call, you had mentioned something that was really interesting about really trying to balance the things that you ask your franchisees to invest in, and that really add value versus what's just optics. You know, is it worth the investment in some kind of scanner or heat scanner when someone walks in the door? Is that really adding value? Is that something that is reasonable to ask a franchisee? So yes, maybe Susan, if you could start. I saw a video of a title with the plexiglass screens between the bags. That was pretty cool. So what kind of things are you guys doing in the clubs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like everyone, we're adhering to all the local state guidelines, and we've always had cleanliness procedures and protocols in place. What's interesting about Tidal is you can technically work out, go into the club and not touch anything because someone can hold the door. Many of our franchisees are having their teams hold the door. You have your hands, that you wrap your hands, you put your gloves on, you go to your bag. So technically you really don't have to touch anything, which is kind of a point of differentiation that some of our franchisees and we're using in our messaging. But we have our bags are almost 6 feet apart on the bag stand anyway. But with that said, we still have franchisees that might be taking down every other bag, or they're marking at the top of every bag and assigning members to, work out at those bags to allow the social distancing. We have different hand wrapping procedures. Again, majority of members know how to wrap their hands, but when you have first-time guests come in, obviously they may not know how to hand wrap. So we have, again, different protocols. We have a trainer that can be 6 feet apart, showing them how to wrap their hands. They can sanitize their hands, put a special glove on, and also show them how to hand wrap. Definitely 30 minutes minimum between classes for that extra deep cleaning, and obviously cleaning during classes, which is great for obviously members to see that that's occurring. We've asked that, we used to provide mats. So there's no mats that we're providing for our members. They have to purchase or bring their own. When we have first-time guests that come in that have never been to Tidal, we have what we call loaner gloves, and we asked all our franchisees to discard those and purchase new ones. And there's a cleaning process after someone uses those gloves. And then what we did is we purchased what we call these glove closets for all of our franchisees. And it's just an extra measure of sanitation to deodorize and clean the gloves. Should the first-time guests not want to purchase gloves and wraps, which is certainly an option. So these glove closets are in all of our clubs. They're mandated. A lot of our trainers and their gears can be put in this. It takes 30 minutes. You put them in, and it, again, deodorizes and kills additional bacteria. That's a measure that we took as well. Our trainers and employees wear masks. So that's, again, something that, again, based on local mandates, but the majority of them are doing that. You referenced earlier, Justin, about those dividers. We have a couple franchisees. One, our franchisee in St. Louis, Heath Norton, bought these 6-foot dividers that are real easy to assemble, and they're mobile, and you can put them between bags, and is receiving really positive feedback from members too. Again, the safety and cleanliness of that has been really key. But I'd say really one of the most valuable and impactful ways that, we're continuing to communicate safety is really coming from the franchisees. They are doing videos and doing tours of the clubs and showing the measures, and continuing to, do emails and texts and Instagrams and Facebook posts, just showing and validating what they're doing in their particular club to take those extra measures. And it's great to see the testimonials and the responses from the members as well, supporting it. So those are some of the extra precautions and safety standards that Tidal's taking.
Very cool. Adam, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You know, you've got, I don't know the exact square footage of a title, but you've got a Gold's Gym that could be 25 to 40,000 or more square feet. We have some that are 60,000. So it's gives you more space, gives you the opportunity to spread out a little more, but at the same time, it presents its own challenges because you have more areas you have to focus on. So, you know, we had to focus on a lot of things. First and foremost, the team member safety, the masks, the gloves. And we've had them wearing those even before the ordinances were in place, just as a baseline. We then had to look at every section. We looked at the cardio section, all the different rows of cardio equipment. How do you separate those and turn machines off and alternate that every few weeks so you can alternate which machines you can use and can't, so you don't wear out equipment? And how do you space out equipment on the floor? A lot of the equipment in a big gym is bolted down, so you can't move it. So you've got to shut it down. So we spend hours walking through the club, measuring, checking every club, and making sure that those equipment, if you couldn't separate them or move them, we had to shut it down. And then the spacing, floor spacings for lines, queuing up and getting in line for meet the front desk, spacing when you're working out in the multifunctional areas, even shutting down things like water fountains so there's no safety issues and things like that. And then of course we've got classrooms, we've got group exercise rooms, we have studio rooms. So we had to determine individually for each one capacity and put the floor markers down. And we're running between 25 and 40% capacity in those rooms just to be safe. And to Susan's point, adding extra time in between our group exercise classes so we can clean not only the equipment, but the floor, make sure everything's ready for the next class that goes in there, and staggering those classes out a little bit. And then developing new standards, right? So our kids clubs are not open yet in our company-owned gyms, at least. So we haven't done that yet. We're hoping to open them soon, but we're going to wait a little longer. Developing standards for personal training. How do you develop a standard in the temporary COVID era for personal training? We had to go through, we had to work on that. How do you train somebody? If you're normally going to spot somebody and you're on a bench press, how can you do that safely? You know, making sure that you're masked up and they're masked up or whatnot. And there's no, you don't break that physical distance rule. It's not an easy thing. If you're checking someone's form, straightening their back out while they're doing something, you got to be very careful now and focus. So that was a brand new set of procedures we had to teach ourselves, get comfortable with, and then certify our team on, which we have done. And now we've opened up personal training again. And then with our franchisees, you know, of course, just like with Susan, every state's different rules. So we built as the franchisor, we built a base standard of things we suggested. And, you know, we pushed that down to all our franchisees. We did some webinars. We had franchisees come on some webinars that our franchise development and support team ran to explain how they're handling safety and teach some people. And not only what are they seeing in numbers, but safety and policy and procedure. And so that was very successful. And you can hear it from the franchisor all day long, but to see your colleagues out there and what they're doing, it really does help. And we give them a baseline. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we're handling it. Obviously, as each state published their guidelines, we went over it with them. We supported to make sure that their minimum moved up to that state level. Usually ours was above it already, but just in case. Some require temperature checks, some don't in gyms. So things like that. And we've been pivoting. I mean, every week, as of this morning, LA County, a different standard. Now you have to have gloves on as a member. So we had to pivot very quickly in our not only our Venice club, but our California franchisees had to pivot as well. So every day there's something new and changing when it comes to gyms and retail and what your rules are. So we're just tracking that every day and making sure we're on top of it.
Yeah, and I know, so the in-club experience is obviously being a part of the community and that energy, sort of that tribe that comes to title boxing and to Gold's Gym. But I know you're both incredibly excited about the digital future for both your brands, and Title on Demand was rocking and rolling well in advance of COVID, as was Gold's AMP. So I think I'd love to hear a little bit more about your strategy when you first built those digital platforms and how you see it now in this change of the business environment, consumer expectations, how you're planning on weaving in your digital platforms into the overall brand experience going forward. So Susan, maybe you can talk a little bit about Title on Demand.
We launched Title on Demand in January of 2019, and you know, it's been several years. The consumer has changed their workout habits, not just working out in the club, but based on travel and convenience. So that lifestyle is continued to evolve. So when we launched in 2019, we developed, you know, boxing, kickboxing, you know, segments, you know, for the consumer out there. We also made it part of memberships that you could have at Title. We had an all access that could be part of it, or any membership could be, a video on demand could be added to that. When COVID hit, I mean, obviously the most important thing we wanted to focus on with clubs closed is retaining our members. So one thing we did is, had title on demand, and we as a company decided to pay for it through September 30th for all members. We've had over 50% of our members engaged in title on demand. So they're working out, utilizing this, which is a real positive. It helps in retention. We've also seen so many other digital evolutions through this, a lot of live streaming, and kudos to our franchisees. They've been doing live streaming with Zoom, private Facebook. They've been trying to create a community online, which has been really a plus out there the last 60 plus days. We also last month decided, hey, we're going to just have a title on demand membership that our franchisees can sell, because they know their members better than anybody based on their lifestyle, based on their sales technique. Do they want to buy an annual membership? Do they want to buy a Club 8? And then they can sell the title on demand membership themselves. They can reap the net profits minus royalties and a small percent that goes to the subscriber. But other than that, it's in their hands. So they are kind of empowered to sell a title on demand membership with any of their other memberships. So that's been, real positive. But I got to tell you, the live streaming and plus title on demand has just been a great retention tool. Franchisees are doing everything they can during this time to retain their members. They're even doing virtual training with their trainers, private training. I had private training sessions during that time with a trainer, and it keeps the trainer engaged and in shape too as they reopen, and revenue coming in. So that's really a little bit of title on demand. We are still looking at innovation in the future of what we can do with live streaming and combining that with possible other memberships down the road. But right now, title on demand has been a really big help in retention, and it's been exciting.
Awesome. And Adam, I know you're passionate about the hybridization of digital and the in-club experience. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the not the pandemic. We saw this coming back in early 2017 in terms of just what digital was going to do to disrupt the space, and we certainly felt that it wasn't going to do what Netflix did a Blockbuster. No, we never thought that. Gyms aren't going away, period. But the hybridization of fitness was slowly starting. And so we worked together as a team starting in early 2017. And by the time October of 17 came, we launched Gold's Amp. And for us, really, over the last few years, it's been mainly an in-club tool. And the cool thing about it is it's music and it's coaching. And we were really excited and hoped one day we'd get to 150 workouts in there, treadmill, and your elliptical and your bikes and stair stepper, all the things you can do in the gym, but also home workouts, bodyweight workouts, core, running, jogging, walking. Fast forward to right before COVID, we had over 650 workouts in there. I think it's 14 different modalities now. Audio coached workouts, video guided workouts. We have over 40 different genres of music that we license directly from the labels. So it's the latest stuff that you hear on the radio, or I don't know who listens to the radio, but whatever digital service you listen to these days. But and so when we were really proud of that, we had a roadmap over the next 24 months, let's say, in February, that we were focused on in 20 and 21, and then COVID hit. And so what we decided to do, and the record labels were gracious enough, and our partners were gracious enough to support us, is just make it available to any Gold's Gym member, whether it's company-owned, franchisees. And this was really important for our franchise community because they didn't have their own digital platform. They relied on Gold's Amp. We integrated with most of our franchisees' point of sale system so they could sell Gold's Amp. We did this years ago. And then we would notice it within a few seconds, and we could bill them. They could mark it up and have it to their member. So they could sell it directly to their member, or they could bundle it with a membership. For X, you get the gym. For a few dollars more, you get the gym plus Gold's Amp. And our franchisees, that was in place well before this happened. So we made it available kind of for the betterment of humanity. And just said not only to all Gold's Gym members, but eventually by April, we made it available to anyone around the country. And it was a tremendous success. Hundreds of thousands of people signed up to use it. And we got great engagement. We had over 80% workout completion. People had time on their hands. They were home. 80% of the workouts that were started were completed. And our most popular workout length was about 18 to 20 minutes, which tells us people either were really shortchanging themselves every day because they had a little window, or they were doing, a lot of them were, they were doing 2 18 to 20 minute workouts a day and they picked one cardio and one strength or whatever it was. So we learned a ton, got a lot of data from it, and to exactly what Susan said, we also pivoted a little bit. We have a global franchise base, so we asked them to record workouts for us, video workouts, just iPhones, some lights, go to your gym. I know it's closed, get your team in there. And we had over 200 workouts submitted mainly from our franchisees. We did a few dozen ourselves. Egypt, Australia, Russia, I mean, you name it. People sent workouts in, and you could literally go on our goldsgym.com/anywhere site during the pandemic at no charge anybody and just do some of these workouts. They weren't Academy Award-winning quality. It was done during the pandemic, but it was engaging and it was real, and our members loved it. And so just like Susan, now we're accelerating that 24-month roadmap we had. I accelerated, and we're doing it in the next 6 or 9 months. And we're really just going to accelerate the hybridization of this. And our goal for, different product and different subset of customers and title, but our goal is we want to have the best virtual gym membership in the world. And we're Gold's Gym, and we feel that we reserve the right to do that. So our franchisees can offer, here, come in to the best gym in your community, what they have. And by the way, we're with you when you leave. And that's our goal, and we'll have that by the end of the year.
I think an interesting topic that both of you actually brought up is, to Susan's point, you were talking about that kind of the local organic content, not just being sanitized and safe and clean, but showing folks that. And then Adam, you just mentioned having folks submitting their own workouts, not Academy Award winning, it's on an iPhone. I think that's both fascinating, but on the paid ad side, on the local marketing and advertising, we actually had a question submitted by someone in the audience. Are your franchisees reluctant because they're afraid of closures again? They said that they've been pushing their Z's to spend to try to regain some of that lost, or maybe go capture that market share. You both mentioned that you were surprised to see an influx of new memberships, and we've heard that kind of widely across. But are you experiencing franchisees reluctant to do local marketing, and what are you doing on the paid side of the house?
I'm going to let the former CMO go first.
It's probably mixed out there, but many of our franchisees are and have been re-engaged with their local digital vendor and partner that, we obviously oversee. They are investing for all the right reasons. Some weren't doing it obviously when the clubs were closed, but some still were, just to keep the awareness going. But most have started some type of digital spend, especially when they're reopening. So that's been a positive. Other things that they're doing, there's a lot of partnerships that are going on. Many of our franchisees are partnering with the local smoothies and other businesses to provide workouts to their employees and get them signed up. We've had a couple franchisees where there have been some other competitors that haven't reopened and aren't going to. So they've been able to, capture some of their memberships at that time. But from a digital standpoint, never turned off the social media side of it. But from the spend side and investment side, most of our franchisees have turned that faucet back on.
Yeah, from our standpoint, our franchise, so we're still promoting our digital very heavy. Some people are not ready to come back. We're at 55% traffic. So 45, 50% of the people are still home. They're still doing some of our free workouts, still using AMP. Our franchisees did an amazing job with Instagram Live and things of that nature. But from a paid media perspective, so for our company-owned stores, I had in partnership with our head of brand, we agreed that we would wait 2 weeks. And so we decided to wait 2 weeks in each region as we opened before we started pushing paid out. And we just kind of let people come back, just kind of got a feel for things in the market. And then after 2 weeks, we started doing some very straightforward paid stuff. Nothing heavy-handed, nothing too gimmicky. Just, hey, we're here, we're back, we're open, we're safe. Come check us out. And then I thought our franchisees is doing something very similar. They're out there. I don't think, I'm of the opinion, I'm of the opinion that we shouldn't be afraid to market. We shouldn't be afraid to sell, but just do it tactfully and do it in a way that makes people feel comfortable. And to Susan's point too, she's seeing a ton of membership signups. So are we. These people are hearing about us somewhere besides just the drive-by. They're hearing about us somewhere, and it's working. So we're slowly getting it back on. Our franchisees are getting it back on as they reopen. And are we spending as much as we were pre-COVID? Of course not. We're tracking it very carefully. but it's an important part of our business and we need to get back to it.
There's no franchise course that teaches anybody to go through, and gyms are some of the toughest ones you're going through. As Lane jokes around, I always bring my kids in somehow into this. When my son called me up at 6 o'clock on Monday from Phoenix to let me know his gym was closing at 8 o'clock for the next month.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other times, like you mentioned, Boston's opening it now. And
Yeah.
Boston could say, okay, great, it's going to be 50%, and 2 hours later it could be 40%. So,
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is, we talk about this word pivoting. You guys have to do backflips because things are changing so quickly. How do you try to prepare for this as best as possible and keep it in contact with your franchisees or your corporate locations?
I mean, if anyone tells you they had a playbook for this, they're lying, first of all. Not one person. And you're right. And I'm not saying restaurants are doing well. They're getting hit hard. They're getting hammered. I get it. But, at least they had some curbside pickup, some delivery. They had some way to drive some revenue in some way, even though I totally get it wasn't great. But it was hard. There was no playbook. I mean, we never thought we'd ever have to shut our gyms down ever. Yeah, maybe in Houston, our franchisee had to shut down during some hurricanes, but it was for 7 or 8 days. It wasn't for 70 or 80. And so, to your point, Brad, we have to just be nimble. We had to be nimble. Revenue is what it is. We all furloughed most of our staff, and now we're just communicating. We have an amazing franchise development and franchise support team, and they are in constant contact with our franchisees. And when we had to furlough, at Gold's Gym corporate, we furloughed like 97.5%, whatever the number was, percent of our team. But you can be sure we didn't furlough anyone on our franchising team, and they were working 12-hour days. They were working hard, talking to our franchise people, franchisees, their people, supporting them, helping with PPE, helping with rules. How do you talk to landlords? How do you suggest, and just, and focusing on just giving them every bit of support. And that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Is just stay close, engage, and communicate all the time, because every other day something could change, and you got to be ready.
I'd kind of like to ask one question, that because it's so geographic, there are definitely haves and have-nots in the franchisee network, and it must be, I'm asking, because we've talked to many people where markets that are open look at markets that are still closed as the next opportunity for their growth, because those people are just held up. But it must be difficult balancing, the people that have opportunity with don't among a franchise system that includes both. Is anybody experiencing the woe is me part of the system?
Susan, go for it.
This whole thing has kind of been a balance. And as Adam said, I think, first of all, the clubs that have opened, it's exciting, it's great. The clubs that haven't opened and they're waiting, there's a lot more anxiety that they're experiencing. It can be frustrating. And so we are dealing with that. We have our whole team intact. We haven't furloughed anyone on our staff at this point, knowing that we absolutely have to continue to support the franchisees. And we've honestly been busier the last 3 months than ever before, and we've probably communicated more than ever before. So I think part of what we've tried to do from a strategy standpoint, like Adam, is, communicate. We've had communication going out every single day to our franchisees. On Mondays, it's communication from me. On Tuesdays, our marketing and ops and product team are communicating kind of the update from here's where we're at with memberships to here's what you need to do to message your members. On Wednesdays, we have our Wednesday weigh-ins, and that's our sales guru, James Lloyd. On Thursdays, it's best practice sharing. Even when we were closed, we had the best of the best talking about engagement and what their trainers were doing and how to keep the franchisee staff engaged. So, and then on Fridays, our operations team wrapped everything up, and we had a few town halls in between, but we were communicating a lot of compassion, a lot of listening, a lot of tough discussions too. And, you really feel for what was going on out there. But I feel really good. We're on a good road at this point to see what our franchisees have done, what our trainers have done, what my team has done has been amazing. And, we're getting ready to announce the second half of the year, all the exciting things with the calendar. So positives that way. And again, we've got about 70% almost, opened, and, just continuing to communicate though. We had a call this morning with franchisees. So I don't know, Lane, if that helps, but it's really communication, compassion, and just continuing to have a positive attitude towards this entire process has been helpful too.
Thank you.
I know, Adam, I know communication with your team is something you're passionate about too. And I know you guys are both in sort of triage mode. We're all in triage mode. Is there anything that you're learning about that's working really well that might change even when we're out of this crisis, how you communicate, how you work with your franchisees into the future? Is it changing the game as it relates to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think whether it's employees, franchisees, I don't know how many of you, before COVID, you did one or two video calls a month, right? By March 18th, you were doing 10 a day, right? And it was really an effective way to communicate. You know, we are a Microsoft shop, and we have Microsoft Teams, but we never used it before March 17th. I mean, really very often, and now we live on it, 10 times a day. So I think whether it's employees or franchisees, this level of communicating really helps engagement. It really helps you see who's paying attention and who's not. But at the same time, it really helps communicate and get the message across. And I think, our franchisees, we've been doing a lot of webinars with them. And I think if I've learned anything, it's just the fact that, there is no such thing as over communicating. I think post-COVID, eventually we're all going to get through this and get out of it. We just need to continue on that fact, stay close, and get people's opinions. And as the franchisor, sometimes we forget that maybe we don't know best everything. We don't know. Susan said earlier, franchisees were communicating back, giving them feedback. And I think besides the ongoing communication, the thing I've learned is definitely listen more and get more feedback, because we're learning a ton from what our franchisees, they're amazing operators, but they're also great businessmen and women, and they're also great people. And we've learned a lot about how they're handling, not even operating. I mean, we've got some franchisees doing so much more in the community than we ever expected. And they're being role models for that out there. Their clubs weren't open, but they were out there. We had some in, I was in Tennessee, I believe. They went out and did a food bank, and then they served lunches 2 days in a row. And they just did whatever they could to keep their brand out there, but also help their community. And that was a real good lesson for us as well.
Nice. So we have 12 minutes left, 11 now. Two topics that we want to get to. And Susan, if you wanted to say something on the back of that, you can do that before you answer this one. But I want to make sure we talk about franchise development. So how is franchise sales going, and has the crisis impacted franchise sales and really the way that you're marketing the opportunity to candidates? What does franchise sales look like for both of you guys? Susan?
Yeah, well, the title was founded in 2008 and 9 during the recession. So we, started our brand during that time period. Through the last several months, we've been doing virtual discovery days. We never turned off the franchise development marketing. We kept that going, and we've done a few deals. And I mean, it's been really exciting to do virtual discovery days. We've done 2 a month. We have more people at home. People are at home, they're evaluating their options in life, personally and professionally. We're seeing that. People no longer want the corporate America world. We've heard that from some of our prospects. They want to take control over their destiny. Fitness is right up there. They want to do something that resonates with them personally. And everyone that comes into our brand, they love fitness anyway. Some are former members, so we've seen a mixed bag there. But obviously, it's been real positive. Our team has done them. They've been 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, and we get representation from all of our departments, and the engagement has been really positive. And got another one set for next week. Got 2-3 different new groups coming in. But yeah, I've been pretty excited and real pleased about the franchise sales side of this.
Yeah, I would say same here. I mean, we were again very excited to close the deal in South Africa earlier this week. So and I think our pipelines have never been stronger. I think one of the things we've been trying to do is stay out there and stay present. And we scheduled as many positive releases about our brand over the last 6 or 8 weeks as we could. We, of course, didn't make them up. We just happened to have good things happening, whether it's an upgrade to AMP, whether it's a new franchisee, whether it was a relationship with healthcare, whatever it was. We've been out there and getting a lot of attention and trying to keep earn our share of voice and keep our brand relevant with both consumers, but also with entrepreneurs. And so I know our U.S. team that has a very strong pipeline that's been growing even during this. And outside the U.S., we only master, but we've got new master opportunities popping up and people very interested in a variety of countries. And we want to be in the early, low to mid 30s in terms of number of countries over the next 18 months. And so we've got good opportunity and good pipeline to do that.
Hey, we've got a really interesting question that Barry Herbst just asked, and I think it's pretty germane to both brands, given the fact that Title is, it's one of the most longstanding, probably most well-known name in boxing, and everyone associates the Title glove. So you've got the glove and the equipment, and then of course, Adam, you mentioned Gold's merchandise just became kind of a global phenomenon some years ago. So Barry asked, should corporate gyms roll out more at-home equipment in order to diversify, act as a hedge, as more people prefer to exercise, workout from home? Are you guys both thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, for our standpoint, we've been licensing our brand for 25 years. And so we don't make anything per se, but we license our brand all over the world. And so you can, at various qualities, you can find Gold's in gloves, small exercise equipment, large exercise equipment. And obviously you can't find it now because everyone bought it. We all, for that first 4 weeks, post quarantine, but in quarantine. But so it's a very important business for us. We've signed up 1, 2, 3 new licensees just in the last 3 weeks, all in the home exercise equipment area. And so I think you'll see Gold's Gym, small exercise, large exercise equipment with our brand, retail, sporting good, you name it. It's going to be all over the world and growing. And it's selling like crazy. And even, Amazon has got a bunch of new things coming out. So I think, it's not going to replace what we do, but it ties nicely. And people will find that mix of working out in the club, working out at home. And they want brands they know, like Title, like Gold's, and they want brands they trust.
Yeah, with Title, obviously you can buy gloves and wraps at the club. We also, our partner, Title Boxing, which, is headquartered here in Kansas, they distribute worldwide bags and mats and MMA and boxing gear throughout the country. So anyone can go online and purchase pop-up bags or mats or any type of boxing gear. Today, they have been for a long time. So that's already available.
Susan, I actually almost purchased a bag. I was talking with Brooke Budke over in your marketing, and she pointed me to the website and said, you need that, because I was in my gym and then they closed my gym down and I needed a bag. But
I know someone who has a bag. My wife bought me one for my birthday.
Oh, I thought we were about to get the Jake story. We've gone through the whole podcast without a Jake or Zach story. But I bet when Jake comes back this week, he'll put that to use. We'll know about it.
God, it's going to be like the next Peloton commercial, like Christmas.
Except not so flattering if Brad's in there.
I didn't realize it was make fun of Brad Day.
Yes, well, I get roasted all the time. But guys, we have 5 minutes left, 6 minutes it looks like, as we move to close. If Lane or Brad doesn't have anything else, I just wanted to ask, we obviously have a mixed audience. We have a lot of experienced franchisors that join, but due to the nature of Springboard, which is an event for emerging franchisors, get on your soapbox and what are some closing thoughts or really words of advice for emerging folks that may not have your size and scale, but they're fighting through this and they're clawing through this. What's your word of advice for emerging brands?
First.
I would say, hey, to anybody, communication is just critical. Be prepared for anything. If you are in the membership model or not in the membership model, you may have to take a short-term hit for the long-term gain. Make your members feel comfortable today. Whatever it takes, engage your teams as well. And then when you do reopen, like one of my franchisees shared with me, just make sure you bring the fire on. Have as much energy and as excitement and enthusiasm as you did before, and you'll win at it.
I like that.
Yeah, I think for me, Susan had all great points. I think just prepare for anything. I think every little bit that you can do to support your franchisees as they come on board, every little bit helps. They look to you. It's your model. It's your brand that you're bringing to the market. It's your history. It's your expertise. It's your experience. And they look to you like a kid looks to their parents, right? Like you have the answers. And even if you don't have them, you can solve it for them and you can find it. And we didn't have every answer during this. Heck no, we just had to solve them and figure it out and partner with them. And So I would say just work real closely and engage and communicate with them, because and think outside the box, right? Your ideas as a potential new franchisor is probably already outside the box, but take it one step further and think outside the box, and it'll help you prepare and pivot as you need to. Knock wood, we won't have something like this ever again. We'll be better prepared as a society, but you never know. Any level of this, and you can be prepared for it and emerge out of it.
As we go through this pandemic, and let's hope by within the next 5-6 months, there is going to be a vaccine, and which everyone thinks there's going to be. The potential franchisees, but more importantly, your franchisees, are going to remember the franchise systems that stuck behind them, that were really for there. And it's not always convenient. Sometimes, franchisors are taking phone calls or emails or texts at crazy hours and crazy times. And because, as Lane mentioned before, each geography could be each village, each town has different regulations. One of the questions I wanted to ask before, what do you guys recommend for the best masks as you do workouts? And I'm sure these are certain ones that are better for workouts than other ones. And there's so many things that the franchisees do, but the key word is communications. And make sure you understand the franchisees. You're there for them. And, I don't know, I think it was Adam who said, they're going to remember. They're going to remember for the franchisees that as the systems go along, the franchisors who were really for them and did everything to help them succeed through these difficult times.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we have 2 minutes left. Is there anything we didn't ask that you wish we did? I think we went off script a little bit in terms of what we did. Was there anything we didn't touch on that you wish we did, or do you feel good?
I feel great. I just think, we've had an opportunity to take advantage of some of these emerging trends that have occurred out there with families and kids staying at home all day. So part of what we're doing is launching, kids camps throughout the year and family memberships, because we've seen such an uptick with that based on families wanting to work out more. So we've got some special promotions and offers. And the other thing is just we realize one size just does not fit all. So we have different promotions because there's different capacities, different mandates, different market situations going on. So we've customized a lot of the different marketing messaging and promotions to help our franchisees based on their situations. And I think you got to keep an open mind with that today.
So what is the family package? I would be remiss if I didn't ask just a little more color on that. So what is that family package? Because that's very interesting.
Just a membership. So if you have a membership, you can add on a family member.
Got it.
At no charge during a certain time. And then the kids camp will launch in September, and it's really geared toward helping with skill set, building confidence and self-esteem, and the group interaction, which kids sorely miss today at this point based on camps being canceled and all the summer activities. So getting kids back in to a group setting in a very positive environment. So we're going to launch it in September, and knowing that schools may not come back in, that they're talking about, from December to January now. A lot of the schools are going to be off, taking a longer winter break. So how do we think about that business and maximize the opportunity with student specials and families and kids, are just things we're continuing to think about to help our franchisees through the next year or so.
Nice.
Ryan, so one last thing I want to say is everyone on this call, forget franchising for a minute. Remember, exercise is medicine. Get your butts off the couch, get out, do something, especially now. I don't care what it is, I don't care where you go, but as a society, we can't forget that. And this is, getting on my soapbox, you got to do it because you'll be a little healthier. You get out there. And it is medicine. So don't forget that as you guys go out there.
Your brands are helping to fight the quarantine 15 all over the country and all over the world. So good, you're doing good work.
Good to see you.
Brad, pull out that bag. That's your mandate.
Well, first of all, I want to thank, Susan and Adam and Justin for delaying the holiday weekend a little bit, as a lot of people are heading out. So, and, we really answered some phenomenal questions because, as we all know, it's going to be an interesting few more months. And as we go forwards, 8 steps, and backwards, maybe 1 or 2 along the way. So I really want to thank you for your advice and all your everything you guys had to say today.
I echo Brad's sentiments, and I won't repeat them, but you guys are great to have shared your afternoon with us on a Thursday holiday weekend. I wish you have a very, very happy holiday weekend.
Thank you. You guys as well.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, guys.
Be safe. Happy 4th.
Take care.
Bye.